we have the first step, second step, and so on. And we set up the pull system so that I think it's only around 15 parts actually only go in there at one time. So once that gets down to a little less, then it'll release more material so that those can be started to work on. And then down here is the unit build, the 4 lines that we had. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's just going through there. And then the section builds and unit builds get combined in here to the final assembly. And then you have your output right here, which shows how many parts you'll actually get out. And then at the bottom here, it also shows the length, how long into the simulation you're running. So if I were to speed this up, you can see as the hours go by. They gave us all the data for a whole year. So we had to run all the whole simulation for a year and then get the statistics out from that. Alright, so the first time we ran it from the original setup and everything, we had a loss of profit of a little more than $3 million. And then after we made all our changes, we had a profit of a little more than $16 million. So overall, that's an overall increase of a little more than $19 million. So we thought this was really good. As Professor Fullerton said, we submitted this report in with our simulation and everything. We weren't chosen. There's 5 finalists chosen. They're going to have a presentation at an IIE conference down in Miami where they'll actually choose the winner. There's 5 finalists chosen for this. There's a team from Mexico, 2 from South Korea, the University of Washington, and Ohio State. Any questions? Yeah.
Just one, Jeremy, the 5S event, what is an event? What does that mean?
It's just you get together with your workers and you go through the five things here, and it's just kind of like
It's like you have a specialist who's been trained in 5S, and then you build a team together, a small team, mostly like managers, things like that, and you have the specialist train them and what they're supposed to be doing, and they go out and implement it with their individual teams and their groups, and they have to basically go through and do these 5 S's. Like you start out with sort, and what that means is they go through, and most of the places that these are implemented, it's usually really messy, haphazard, things like that. So what they did was they go through their entire workstations and they sort everything into things like, all right, this goes together with this goes together with this, things like that. They get everything like that. Then they move on to set and order, which means they designate specific places where things are supposed to be kept. So all these tools go with this machine, so we'll make specific places for all these tools. And this trash can always has to stay right here, things like that. That's what set and order means. Then you move on to shine, which means you overhaul your entire department in terms of cleanliness. You want to make sure everything's clean, everything's always neat. That's where the specific areas for the trash cans, things like that come in. Because if you have a dirty workplace, 1, it's going to be harder to get work on because it might take you a long time to find things, and 2, it's just not good for business because it just looks terrible. So you make sure everything's clean, and that keeps everything nice and orderly. Then you standardize, which means you set up procedures for everything that would have to be done within the individual step. You make sure that no matter what person comes on, whether they're the first shift, third shift, whatever, whoever comes on, everyone's doing that step exactly the same way to make sure you're always putting out the same exact product. And then sustain it's actually everyone's part is the sustain part is the worker's job to make sure they keep doing that and stay up to date with all the things that they've been learning. And it's the manager's job to stay on top of those workers and make sure that everything that they've just implemented with this 5S event, because they can be pretty costly. their job to make sure that everyone keeps doing this and everything stays the way it's supposed to be by implementing this.
Thank you.
Think of your workbench at home. Most people, they don't have things organized and they don't have pegboards, etc. And so half the time when you're going to do a home project is hunting around and trying to find the right tool. And 5S basically says, let's clean this up, let's put everything where it's supposed to be so the next time you do a project, you're much faster and more efficient. So that's exactly what they were doing. And then you have to keep your workbench nice and organized or it's going to just go back to chaos again.
It's very easy to organize all this and then just start not putting things where they belong, and then you're just back to square one again.
The other question, somebody else? Have it?
So what was more difficult, understanding the problems or using Arena?
Well, last year we did the same thing, except it was a hurricane evacuation and that was harder because that was the first time we'd actually knew about Arena, so we had to actually learn everything about it. So this one I think was easier, and actually in the terms of getting it into Arena and getting all the information in and all that stuff.
Last year was a huge baptism under fire for us. We had never used it before. They're like, here, use this. We're like, okay. So we eventually figured out how to use it and stuff like that. But because of last year's initial thing, this year we would have jumped right into it and just go right to the problem because we knew how to use Arena. But because of all the ambiguities and confidentiality things that they had to include, some of the things with this problem were so hard to understand. I mean, Professor Fulton was our faculty advisor with this, and there were some things even she was like, I have no idea why they put it like that. Like there were so many questions. Like there was actually a point where they said you can submit any questions to us, and we'll organize them all and answer them for you. And there were some questions that all they told us were things like just make assumptions or assume the best or assume the worst. So there were a lot of times where understanding this problem was really difficult.
Did you figure out your assumptions somewhere?
Again, I think we did. I think we organized them all into our report that we submitted to make sure we included them.
You were given, I think you mentioned you were given process times for each of the different processes. Were you also given travel times?
No, actually, it was a flat-out statement in the problem that travel times should be completely ignored, and that blew us away. Because travel times are usually a huge thing in factories, and people asked repeatedly, like, what about travel times? And all we were told was just completely ignore transportation and travel times, things like that. But we were actually really surprised by that. Good, thank you.